Hi everyone, today I'll be talking about Fast Advance. Specifically, I'll be comparing HB Fast Advance to NBN Fast Advance. You'll see what are the common points they have and what are the strengths and weaknesses that they have when compared to each other. Now, first question, what enables HB and NBN to be considered the two superior identities for Fast Advance? The most important reason is that they both have 3-2 agendas in faction, meaning that of the 20 agenda points, they can have 12 of them, which comprise of 3-2s. With 6 3-2 agendas in your deck, you will be able to reliably find 3 of them throughout the course of your game. And if you can fast advance 3 3-2s, you get 6 agenda points, and you're looking well on your way to getting to a victory. So besides this, they both have 2 of the most powerful fast advance cards in faction. HB boasts Biotic Labor, which gives you 1 extra click for the cost of 4 credits. The best thing about this is that it cannot be trashed unless using Imp or those NARC tools that mill your cards. As for NBN, you have Sensei City Grid. It's more expensive, costing 6. However, the most powerful part about Sensei City Grid is that it stays on the board even after you have used it, meaning that you are forcing the runner to trash it for 5. Otherwise, you just continuously pump out your 3-2 agendas. So this is nasty. And of course, your ID is given influence for a reason. So you have both of these cards when playing either HB or NBN Fast Advance, making you very powerful because you have more than 3 cards in your deck that allow you to fast advance agendas. Besides this, you have the very common 1 influence cards. Some of the most powerful 1 influence cards come from these 2 factions. You have Jesus Howard, Jackson Howard, as staple included in any deck, HB and NBN Fast Advance included. And for HB side, you have Eli, which I still think is the best piece of ice in the game even today. So with all these staple cards within these 2 factions, you're just going to mix and match all of these, and you get very powerful fast advance decks. What other similarities are there? Well, I guess it stops there. So now we'll talk about why NBN Fast Advance is more powerful than HB Fast Advance, and a contributing factor to why Astrobiotics is so powerful and popular in today's metagame is none other than the fact that the NBN Agenda Suite is much stronger than the HB Agenda Suite. Because all the agendas in the NBN Agenda Suite contribute to scoring agenda points, more agenda points. Whereas the HB agendas, if you think of Accelerated Beta Tests and Vitruvius, usually they tend to be blank 3-2 agendas, so they are less effective. For the NBN side, you have obviously Astroscript. I don't need to explain this too much. What makes it so powerful is that you can combine it with Biotic Labor and Fast Track. This gives you a very powerful combo where you can score 2 agenda points right off the bat, even without an agenda in your hand or on the top of your R&D. As long as the Astroscript is anywhere within your R&D, you're going to score it. That is really crazy. For once, the runner has no chance at getting at your agenda, which is pretty crazy. You can't say the same for HB. Then there's Project Build, which is usually a blank 3-2, but if you have 2 Biotic Labors and an Astroscript token, things suddenly become very different. Being able to switch to a 5-3 agenda at will is a very powerful aspect of this agenda and can pull out some unsuspecting wins if your opponent isn't careful enough. Finally, you have Breaking News, which is a 2-1 agenda. As a 2-1 agenda itself, it's it doesn't need much more explaining. Because this game is about getting to 7 agenda points, you need 1 more point after getting 3-2 agendas in order to win the game. And Breaking News does that by allowing you to fast advance 1 point from your hand to win the game. Now, HB has its equivalent, which is Domestic Sleepers. However, this is a 2-0 agenda, meaning that it will actually clog up your deck space if you choose to use it, because it does not contribute to your agenda point total, meaning that you have less deck space for ice and economy, which is a bad thing. So hence, NBN has the far superior agenda suite. This is the main reason why Astrobiotics is much more popular than HB Fast Advance. Another reason is because NBN economy is more bursty. Both factions obviously share hedge fund, a staple 3 of include in any sort of deck. For event-based economy, NBN has Sweet Sweep, which usually generates 4 credits and generates 8 credits against first turn Andromeda, which is pretty huge considering that Andromeda is already one of the best counters to Fast Advance due to their aggressive nature. Compare this with HB, which doesn't have any burst economy that is anywhere near as powerful. Green level clearance only nets 2 credits instead of 4. It does allow you to draw a card, but that's about it. Drawing a card is pretty powerful. I would like to go back to the similarities between HB and NBN. You have 2 ID cards which are both very beneficial in powering your economy. HB Engineering the Future, self-explanatory. It's basically 1 free credit every turn. It's easily the most powerful ID in the game. Then you have Near Hub, which is draw 1 card per remote asset installed. This basically means that you will draw your biotic labels and sensitivity grids faster, you draw your economy cards faster, you draw your eyes faster. That's always a good thing. And while you're doing so, you're actually gaining economy because the cards that you're installing is likely the pet campaigns and the marked accounts, which are giving you money already. So basically, you're getting money and drawing more cards. That has got to be feeling really good, and is why Near Hub is so popular as an ID right now. Speaking of that, back to the topic of burst economy, pet campaigns and marked accounts tend to pay out faster than Theodosi's campaign and are less susceptible to trashing. Another reason why NBN can get up to the magic 7 credits faster that is required for a biotic labeled Astro script. Alright, so another big advantage of NBN that you cannot undermine is the ability of NBN to tag, the inherent tagging power within faction. You are already using breaking news, which is good enough as a 2-1 blank agenda, but it has an additional benefit: give 2 tags to the runner. This is a very powerful counter if you're looking to trash some resources, or more importantly, to deactivate the likes of Rachel Beckman. Against NBN, you simply cannot play cards like Rachel Beckman or even Triumph Contract unless you really don't mind losing those cards, because you can be pretty sure that NBN has the ability to tag you at will so easily with breaking news, a very powerful agenda. So, with so many benefits offered by NBN, why would you want to play HB Fast Advance? The main compelling reason I can find is the strong eyes available in faction. Looking at the end-the-run eyes, HB, you have some very reliable end-the-run eyes that is available for cheap in the next eyes suite, as well as Roto Turret, if you consider that as an end-the-run eyes. Whereas for NBN, the only cheap end-the-run eyes you have in faction is Wraparound. You are forced to you are forced to use the neutral end-the-run eyes, including Quandary and Enigma and Guard. Guard is the only end-the-run sentry that is available. So if you're looking to punish the opponent for not having any sentry breakers, you do want to run Guard. Whereas HB, you have Roto Turret and you have Architect, which is a sentry that you cannot ignore. With the advent of Architect, HB just got a very powerful cheap piece of ice that forces a breaker from the runner. It is impressive. If you are looking at high-end ice, HB has all the good ice to offer. At 5 credits or less, you get lots of program trashing and, as mentioned, Architect. Whereas for NBN, you don't really have any good mid-range ice. You only have the high-end ice, which is Tollbooth. It's a very good piece of ice, but it is very, very expensive, setting you back 8 credits. That is no joke. So, clearly, within faction, HB, you have 5 solid pieces of ice that you don't mind including 3 copies of. Whereas for NBN, these are the only 2 pieces of ice that are of any good, along with Pop-Up Window, which is always reliable, but doesn't end the run. So, because of this, NBN decks tend to have less ice than HB, because there just isn't that much good ice to choose from. In HB, I can have 15 pieces of ice, just like that, and include 3 more ice with Eli, and with that, I can actually have a lot more ice than NBN Fast Advance deck, which means that I'll be more reliable on my first turn. The chance of me being able to ice up both my centrals is very high. This is very important, and of course, it's good defense against the likes of noise and security testing, because it allows you to ice up archives that much faster. Now, the next reason why HB is good is because it taxes vertically instead of horizontally. Now, NBN taxing is, well, their ICE isn't really taxing. Short of toll booth, their ICE doesn't do much. Wraparound breaks for one, quandary breaks for one. All of their ICE is vulnerable to parasite and so on. The only way they are taxing is by building lots of remote servers. By building remote servers, they allow themselves to draw up more cards, and at the same time, they force the runner to run in those remote servers. Because if you don't run them, it could be an extra script that you give to the corp for free, and that's something you never want to do. Whereas HB taxes vertically by using cheap but taxing ICE and forcing runs on the runner if they want to access agendas. The runner has to pay many credits to get through those servers, be it a central server or the remote server. And that is something that runners are not very good at, which is gaining lots of credits to get past all these cheap ICE. It really becomes taxing after a while. Another side benefit of taxing vertically as opposed to horizontally is that you are less vulnerable to cards that exploit empty remote servers or servers with no ICE. Basically, security testing and bank job. So this also opens up a whole suite of weaknesses for the typical Astrobiotics Near Hub deck. They are very weak to John Masanori because anyone with a Desperado and John Masanori out basically gets a free card draw and 1 credit for a click every single turn. Wizard also deals with asset economy very well. Pack campaigns trash for 1. That's not something you want to have. And most importantly, Astrolabe is a very good counter against Near Hub and provides surprising amounts of tempo to shippers that are able to install this console out early. Whereas in HB, if you play vertically, you won't have these problems. In fact, you actually gain one very huge benefit, which is that you're actually more resistant to credit denial, believe it or not. Because of your ID ability, you're able to install a piece of ICE and still gain 3 credits on the same turn. That is pretty huge if you find yourself getting siphon locked or vamp locked. It's not a thing nowadays with sealed vault out. Not that anyone plays it, but credit denial is becoming less and less popular. As such, it might be a good idea, but still, if someone decides to play that against you, HB decks are generally more resilient, especially if the credit deniers decide to deny your pack campaigns and marked accounts. If you're playing NBN, it's very hard to recover once you go down to 0 credits. The last final benefit of playing in HB against Near Hub is that you have more influence available for yourself. If you play 3 Sansan City Grids and 3 Jacksons in HB, you have 3 influence left over. If you play with 2 Sansan City Grids, you have 6 influence left over. This influence can be spent on basically anything. Your ICE needs are all covered within faction, so you can spend those influence generally on economy or breaking R&D lock as I did in my HB deck with Corporate Shuffle. Whereas for NBN, by including 3 Biotic labels and 3 Elis, you only have 2 influence left. If you shave off 1 Biotic label, you give yourself 6 influence, but this influence all has to be pretty much spent on ICE because the in-faction ICE suck. There's no question about it. NBN ICE is pretty much the worst in the game. At least Jinteki ICE can tax, at least Wayland ICE are big and nasty, and HB ICE are cheap and good. Pretty much the best ICE in the game. NBN ICE is terrible. They have lots of sentries that are tag based, but in an Astrobiotics deck, you're not looking to punish with tags. So you basically have no influence left over to do anything else. Whereas HB, as I said, with this influence, you can pack a lot of surprises, and also there are some very powerful in-faction cards that you cannot overlook as a benefit of playing HB. Archive Memories is like the fast track of Astrobiotics. It allows you to pull a Biotic label or a Sansan City Grid from your archives, thereby increasing the amount of pressure you place on the runner. Because they really have to deny you the 3-2 agendas, otherwise you score it again with the same old Biotic label. And of course, archive memories is flexible in that if you need money, you can always pull out a hedge fund or some sort of economy card to keep yourself afloat. You can also pull out Nix Ice if Noise happens to be milling all your Nix Ice with parasites. Then there's Enhanced Login Protocol, which is arguably the best current in the game so far. Doesn't need much explanation. NBN doesn't have all these luxuries, and so it's just not that powerful. Above that, if you really want to find the most compelling reason to play at HB Fast Advance over NBN, it's that everyone is stacking up against Astrobiotics Nerf Hub nowadays. It's good to switch up your game so that you're not that predictable as compared to the rest of the competition. Might help you more in winning your games. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this insightful. If you have any comments of your own, anything that I might have missed out through this video, if you do, please leave it in the comment section below. See you around.